All right, for the speakers online, can you see the slide? Okay, perfect. I'm wondering, is it also possible to show the online speaker and the slide at the same time? Okay, yes. We now see you and the slide. So, okay, thank you everyone for joining online. The test is working, so thank you very much for testing it out. And we're looking forward to your session later on, and we hope you'll be able to follow the rest of the event as well, of course. And yeah, we recommend to check in regularly. If there are any major delays, we'll let you know. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and in case anything I can help you with in the meantime, let me know, and we'll be available to help you. Make sure that my colleague Neos is in CC, as I will be moderating as well, so I don't know if I could answer at all the time, but Neos will see it for sure. Thank you. Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just not able to see the screen share, like the slides. I just see like the videos of the CLIMAAX category regions, like from the projector, but I don't see like the slides shared in the big screen.
Okay.
Which is not like a super big issue. I can also have it like on a second screen for myself. But if someone is gonna pass the slide for me, I mean, I can double check like on the two
Yeah.
screens where we stand with the projector and on my screen to
Okay.
switch. But if there's anything that can be done, just to let you know.
Yeah, I will check. Okay, so if we have to share the slides, share the screen for them to see the slides? You know what I mean? In the account that says projector, right? So you will see the slide in the slides in projector, the account that's called projector. It's a bit small. Maybe we can highlight it so it's bigger. Pin. Is it better now?
Like this is perfect.
Perfect?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. All right, then I think it should work. Hello, Anna. Good morning. Maybe we can do a
Hello.
quick sound check. Can you see the slides as well?
I can see the slide, and hello if you can hear me.
Yes, perfectly. So I think it's everything's set, everything's working, so that's great.
Or people connecting online.
Yeah, the speakers that are in the Zoom call now are all the online speakers, and the rest indeed will be in person.
Okay, wonderful.
Good morning, everyone watching online. We need a few more moments, but we'll start very shortly. So thank you for your patience and see you in a bit. Thank you for everyone joining us online. We need 3 more minutes. We are having some minor technical issues, but we'll be sure to be with you in just a moment. Thank you for your patience. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Thank you very much for everyone joining us online as well. Apologies for the short delay. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are live from the City Hall of Setúbal in Portugal today, where the CLIMAAX consortium is gathered for the General Assembly of the project and this Webstival. We're very thankful for the municipality of Setúbal for hosting us today. My name is Jip Lensen, and I will be your host for today. I'll be guiding you through today's session, the Webstival on navigating to more climate-resilient regions. So, we have a packed schedule for today, so let's walk you through today's agenda. We will start with a thorough introduction into the project. Thereafter, we have a segment on the open call that's open now until the 8th of March, where we will talk about all the benefits that it has, and we'll talk about the information on how to apply for this open call. We'll have a very short 10-minute break after that, and thereafter we hear from our pilot regions who are already in the program. Thereafter, we'll have a moment for the CLIMAAX sister projects to pitch their projects. And we will conclude today's event with an extended Q&A moment to ask all the questions that you may have about the open call and how to apply for it. So, then some housekeeping. This meeting is live streamed and also recorded. On-site participants are encouraged to physically raise their hand in case they would like to add something or have a question. It is important that everyone who wants to contribute in this way has a seat with a microphone so that everyone online can hear you. Then for the people online, we have a chat box enabled for you. We want this to be a very participatory session, so please, if you have any questions, write them in the chat and I'll make sure to get to them as soon as possible. If there is not enough time, I might direct you to the extended Q&A moment after the regular program, where we have time to answer any question that you may have. So, without further ado, let's go into the first session, a deep dive into the CLIMAAX project. For that, joining us today is Dace, who is a data analyst at the Latvian Environment, Geology and Meteorology Center, Bart van den Herk, coordinator of the CLIMAAX project, Michaela Bachmann, researcher at YASA, Anna Pirani, and Reinhard Mecheler, also active at YASA. So I would like to welcome to the stage Dace for her intervention.
So good morning, everybody. As Jip mentioned, my name is Dace Zandersone, and I'm from Latvia, from Latvian Meteo Center. And today I'm the first speaker, and I'm happy to be first because I want to do this presentation to tell regions and people outside of our climate risk assessment bubble what we really are, and to please don't be scared of the words and the things what we are speaking about, because at first this presentation will be mostly what were my first thoughts about this project and what we are doing, and what are my thoughts right now, because they have been changed. Because I want to start also with my background. I'm a more technical person. My background is from mathematics, statistics, and mostly this all part in the CLIMAAX, it's in two parts. We are saying that there is framework and toolbox, and the toolbox is the more technical one, and for me it's lovely, I'm enjoying it, but framework part was the scary one. So at first I saw this thing what I called climate risk assessment circle, and I was like, okay, it's very pretty and beautiful colors and so on, but there was one issue, that I understood the words, like I do know what is scoping, I do know what is risk assessment, but when I have to actually start doing something with it, I have no idea where to start. And I guess that there are a lot of people out there that have the similar situation, that are thinking the same, that, okay, I have heard those names, but I have no idea where to start. And as a pilot, we had to start somewhere, because we have to move forward. So we were thinking how to start, and people in the project helped us. They gave us a few simple questions. Who benefits from the risk assessment? What is the aim of the climate risk assessment, etc.? And those were the first thoughts, first questions that we tried to answer, and we got some few first thoughts about what actually is climate risk assessment and where we could go. And at that point of view, I understood that we have to think in two ways. First of all, we have to think wide, because qualitative risk assessment might help a lot of people, the whole society. And also we have to think small, because we cannot be the only ones that are doing it. We need organizations and names that could actually help us, because climate risk assessment, it's a puzzle that has to be put together from more than few people. And afterwards, after answering to these questions, we got new thoughts and even more questions, and those questions were based on the climate risk assessment circle. I started to understand where it actually starts, how to ask myself what is first the questions that could be answered on the scoping phase, and so on, so on. So new answers lead to new questions, and again new answers lead to new questions, and it's going in a circle right now, also in my head. And right now I am feeling that I can finally see where it will go. I am finally seeing some logical structures that are into this climate risk assessment. So I would say that please don't be scared of the words at the beginning. And I am trying to make some logical structures as well into this. So maybe in the future I will have a logical structure and like an example that I could give to others and help other, for example, technical person like I am to understand more of this, like a bit of political point of view, because yeah, at first it is scary, but right now I've been doing it for a few months, and I would say that Right now, I'm not scared of this climate risk assessment circle. Right now, it seems quite friendly for me. Of course, I have to go deeper into it, and I have to make new things and understand more and more. But still, yeah, right now it's a friend, and I'm not scared of it. So I guess that people from regions will feel the same. At first, please, yeah, don't be scared, and feel free to ask any questions to us, because there are very smart people here that could help you. So yeah, that was a brief introduction of me and of things what I think about this climate risk assessment and this project. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Datse, for that great introduction there. And I would like to welcome Bart for his contribution. Thank you once again.
Yeah, that was the best introduction you could actually give. Don't be scared and just dive into it. Can I bring up the slides here? Can you just push forward? Sorry. Yeah. That is actually a very good sketch of where say, the big ambition of the European Union or European Commission's mission on climate adaptation, it has to be translated to something in a very practical sense, as Dutch is just illustrating. And so there was a call out, a research call out a couple of years ago to help regions to bring, say, climate resilience to the region. And climate resilience is another buzzword. It's a big word that actually means that, yeah, climate is changing, and we have to know what is this changing and what is actually the direction to which it can affect society. And to make sense of that, a couple of steps can be systematically analyzed. And this call that we now followed up with the CLIMAAX project is actually the step that brings regions to a process that they can actually systematically explore what is the climate risk look like and what is actually the features that have the potential to affect our society. And that is what we try to bring to the region. So, and a framework that Dutch was illustrating is indeed nothing more than like a mental help. It's a tool to mentally make the steps that you actually need to go through it. We also figure that quite a few regions do have experts, or they can recruit experts to carry out the more technical work. So in the project we also developed this, what we call a toolbox. We have inside the project 5 pilots there that can help testing out both the framework and the toolbox. But maybe a very interesting and elegant support function that CLIMAAX also offers, and that will be discussed later today as well, is what we call a cascading fund. So the European Commission has given funding to the CLIMAAX project, but CLIMAAX is cascading that funding to regions that can apply for such funding. And I'll briefly touch on each of the 3. Yeah, as Dutch says, this is a very conceptual figure that comes out of the brains of academic experts and theoretical people, but it has practical significance because it is what I say, it's more like a talking stick. You put it on the table and you indeed pose the questions that Dutch was illustrating. What is actually the threat? What are the groups that are affected? Who are the people that have to act for it? What are the policy environments in which I can act? What kind of financial resources do I have? It gives you a very systematic approach to make sense of the whole problem. Also, in very practical senses, we get very often the question, if we look at climate change and future projections, the number of future projections is infinite. There's more scenarios than we have people on the planet almost. So there is a lot of questions about, yeah, what is then the most decent set of scenarios that I should choose? And also this framework helps you to systematically explore what is actually a sensible what is a choice for the scenarios. And also think about what is this climate risk assessment landing? Where does it land in the policy framework? Yeah, the toolbox. We do not bring a lot of new stuff on the block, on the road. There's a lot of tools out there in the scientific community. We are bringing together a package that actually gives access to all these tools for different sort of expert layers. So on a very basic layers, We make linkages to the Joint Research Center's Risk Data Hub. Maybe some of you will have heard of it. And we make a link to that and give very safe, first quick scan kind of information that gives a first impression of what the risk profile looks like in a regional level. We go a bit deeper for the local users to really zoom into the region, where we can also allow people to bring in their own data on hazards or exposures. And for the real technical experts, we can even download the whole package, bring it to your own computing environment, and make manipulations to adjust it to your own practice and toolkits. And that all is packaged in the toolbox. It's currently under development. The pilots have helped a lot to fill it up, but it is of course available to everybody, and for sure also for the applicants for the cascading fund. That's on this slide. So we have been granted a sum of money that we can distribute to, somewhere between around 60 regions we would like to service with this fund in this project. And for that we opened the first call for applications already the 8th of December. It's open for 3 months until the 8th of March. And applicants can make a proposal to this fund to get a financial amount of money to carry out a climate risk assessment for their own region. Yes. It goes via a pretty formal selection procedure. We really would like to get the funding there where it makes the most difference. So we do prioritize regions that have a larger vulnerability or somewhat less experience with these kinds of things. And that's also why we have 2 calls open. The first one is open with very generic application criteria. We will look at what the portfolio of projects will be that is going to be funded after the first round, and then we'll open a second one that can be tailored to a specific subgroup of potential regions to bring the balance there. As we speak, 8th of December, the call opened. Currently, we have seen 110 entities, groups that started an application. That is maybe sometimes just fill out an email address, but sometimes already do the work. One of them is already submitted. So I think this is a very good start. So at least the word is being spread, and also this Webstival is of course intended to get some communication. I will skip the technical outlines of the applications. We would like you to systematically do a couple of layers in the application, but that will come back later in a bit more detail, I think, for the sake of time. Yeah, and finally, it's a service to regions, but of course we also want to learn something from the European scale. We have these pilots that really help very well to design the framework toolbox and the application procedure, but you also would like to monitor how the climate risk assessments are going to be picked up. We want to see how the support is being appreciated. We may have to fine-tune some things while we are flying, but we also anticipate that also after CLIMAAX is stopping, some support function will still be there, and so we would like to fine-tune it. And also looking further ahead by monitoring the implementation itself, we can also think about an European synthesis. We could also think about a state of the, say, climate resilience of European regions at some frequency level. So it's really intended to also not only service regions, but also to aggregate the lessons that we can learn from that to the European layer. And yes, I am happy to answer questions after this short speed date session. Thank you for your attention. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bart, for that very interesting intervention. I'd now like to welcome Michaela to the stage for your part.
Yeah, thanks. So hello, everyone. I will try to take a bit more fear off the framework, because as Tatze said, indeed it's a friend, and it should be a friend to all of you, the framework. So the framework will provide standardized flexibility. That means that the framework can be applied according to your needs, and it will also bring state-of-the-art and proven methodologies. It's based on the risk concept by IPCC, which sees risk as an interplay between hazard, vulnerability, and exposure, and we will also bring in the response. The framework is based on 3 pillars, which form the conceptual background. This background is principles, technical choices, and very central to this, we have the participatory processes. And then on top of this conceptual background, we have 5 operational steps that should iteratively guide through the climate risk assessment. These 5 steps are scoping, risk identification, risk analysis, key risk assessment, and finally monitoring and evaluation. And very central to the climate risk assessment, you can find the 3 participatory processes, which should be ensured in every step. These are communication, consultation, and most importantly, also learning. These operational steps are then connected, and they also introduce the climate risk analysis tool, which we call the toolbox, which is here in orange. It goes from risk identification to risk analysis and finally leads to the key risk assessment. And we also have this in more detail. The toolbox will mean to explore risk and then choose a workflow, and not just choose the workflow, but also apply the workflow, as Bart just said, either by data that is provided and by the workflow that's provided, but it can also be changed by you, which means the standardized flexibilities really comes into play here. And finally, by calculating the hazard and combining it with exposure and vulnerability data, you can quantify the climate risk and go to key risk assessment. Most importantly, climate risk assessment should also lead towards climate risk management. So this is why we also indicate how we can go towards climate risk management and how climate risk management should finally also lead into monitoring and evaluation and lead to a new climate risk assessment. The framework is still under construction at the moment because we are trying to bring in the feedback from the 5 pilot regions that we have, which are all across Europe, and they really help us to prove that the framework is really working for them and not just working theoretically, but really in its applied sense. So we're very happy to have the pilot regions on board here, and we will continue working on this to make it even more applicable. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that, Michaela. Now it is time to go over to the Q&A moment. Here for that are the same speakers, and we also have our esteemed colleague Anna Pidani online to answer any questions that you may have. Also online. I see that we have a first question coming in the YouTube chat. Please, if you're watching online, feel free to ask whatever you want about the topic in the chat box, and we'll try to get to your question as soon as possible. We have a question from Christina saying, could you provide specific examples of challenges that European regions currently face due to climate change? And how can CLIMAAX help to tackle these issues? I think that's a good question for Bart.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, the challenges are widespread. Many people will know about that the climate is changing. And yesterday we had a visitor from the mayor of Setúbal highlighted again that currently we face a 20-degree centigrade temperature here in Setúbal in January, which is very extraordinary. So we see the witness of climate change is there everywhere, but their impacts is really very varying. You can imagine that people that have regions that are in a coastal area, they are, preparing for sea level rise or storms and coastal erosion. People that are relying on sufficient, water availability during agricultural production stages, they are facing challenges to secure water resources for agriculture. People living in flood-prone areas will have to face flood features. And that's the climate part only. We also see a huge diversity at the regional scale in say, the socioeconomic structure, the number of people that live together, the capabilities of people to, for instance, escape from a disaster in areas with multiple elderly people living, or in hospital areas. Emergency response is quite a different task than in very rural areas where there is lots of space to go. So the point is, there is such a diverse, say, set of challenges that actually it was quite a challenge to design a project that could support all that diversity. And that's also why Michaela showed that our motto is actually standardized flexibility. We really would like you to carefully think about your own context and your own challenges, and we will try to accommodate these with a toolbox and a framework that can capture a lot of different types of challenges to bring those to a proper policy for climate adaptation or emergency response. I hope that is answering the question.
And we actually got a follow-up question about that topic, I would say. Someone in the chat is asking for a real-world example of what is happening on the ground. Perhaps Tatse or Michaela would be able to explain a little bit what is happening on like a tangible scale, what real events are taking place in the shape of the project.
I guess this means that people want to hear like local things. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
It is also interesting that in this project, if we're looking at pilots, we have different scales of pilots. For example, there is city, and there is also some kind of region, and in my case, there's whole Latvia. We have to think about whole Latvia, and of course, it is a bit difficult because we have different kind of climate risks. We are near the Baltic Sea. That means that we have a coastal erosion, but we have also heat waves coming up into the cities, for example, and flooding. We have this river called Daugava, and each year there used to be floods after winter, but nowadays the floods are also in the winter because of the climate change. The temperature is rising, and for example, last January we had a huge floods in our river, and one of our cities got underwater. But that climate risk, it's a bit different than, for example, coastal erosion or heat waves, etc. So I guess in each region there might be different kind of climate risks, and each climate risk may affect different people, sector, and different organizations and so on. So it's a bit complex, and it's hard to answer to this question because the answers might be different from each of the regions and so on.
Thank you very much for your insightful answer. As greatly as I would like to continue in the discussion, I think we're running slightly behind schedule, so in case you have any follow-up questions, we'll be able to answer them also later on in the project. I did see a question by Konrad. However, I think that is more related to the open call, so I think we can better address that in the session that is coming up now. So I would like to thank all of our speakers and panelists for taking part in this discussion. And I think it's a good moment to now move on to the open call benefits. For that, I would like to welcome Aneta, who is a project manager at Funding Box, Danielle Semperer, who is the director of CRAI, and Nicola Rebora, who is senior researcher at the CIMA Foundation. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Aneta to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aneta Gamonska, and I'm responsible in the CLIMAAX project for the open call management. As already Ip mentioned, the first open call for regions and communities started the 8th of December 2023 and will be open by the 8th of March 2024. So still there is a lot of time to apply to the first open call. The main question which we received by emails by the help desk is that who are we actually looking for the first open call of the CLIMAAX project? So firstly, we are looking for the public bodies. So it includes regional and local authorities, municipalities, and public agencies. But you need to have a mandate to develop climate-related multi-risk assessments and risk management plans in a given region or community. What does it mean to have a mandate? Mandate means that you are authorized, you have the right to develop, implement climate-related multi-risk assessment and risk management plans in your region or community. The mandate can be bill of regulation, service charter, decree, statutes of the like, either publicly available or you can attach it to the application form. We are also looking for the non-profit legal entities representing a local regional community. It can be the community of people with social ties, shared values or interest, engaged in joint action, developing the activities in areas with vulnerability to climate change impacts and challenged by climate change adaptation. What is important, all of these communities and entities, they need to be legally formed before the open call started, so before the 8th of December 2023. Moreover, the entities have to be established in the EU member states and its overseas countries and territories, or Horizon Europe associated countries, and they are not affected by any EU restrictive measures. So those are the main eligible criteria. So firstly, who we are looking for, so public bodies and non-profit legal entities, and the country representation, so in general, EU member states, overseas countries, and Horizon Europe associated countries. What support is to be offered within the first open call of the CLIMAAX? So firstly, we are offering the support up to 300,000 euro lump sum. It depends which country you represent, and these numbers you can find in our documents, in the guide for applicants, in the frequently asked questions. So in those documents you can find the exact sum of money which is given to the country represented. Secondly, the multi-risk assessment toolbox. You can be given the access and support to use the multi-risk assessment toolbox. This support will include methodological guidance and the technical guidance. And we, of course, have some event participation, so we will be given access to the outreach and engagement events organized by CLIMAAX, intended to promote the shared learnings and mutual exchange through the project community of practice. Within the support program, we have 22 months of the program, and we have 3 phases plus the final payment. So you can see in the table how the percentage of total grant is given per each stage. So in general, the support program is related to the fixed lump sum, so we don't require any accounting documents to prove the cost incurred. However, we required deliverable to be submitted and approved by the committee. So if the documents are approved and validated, then the payment in relation to the specific milestone can be done. This is the quick open call timeline. So we are after the open call launch and the first webinar online on how to apply. Now the next webinar will be on 13th of February, so if after this session you will come up with more questions, you are invited to join this webinar, and the open call deadline is 8th of March at 5 p.m. Please don't wait until the last moment, because everything can happen, all of the technicalities can happen, so we invite you to apply a little bit earlier than the last moment. Evaluation process is predicted for the March and April, and the publication of the list of beneficiaries we predict for June 2024. After this publication, the beneficiaries will start the support program. Now I will guide you through our website, how to apply and how the application process looks like. So first of all, you need to sign up to the Funding Box portal, and here we will ask you just for your email, the username, the password, and then your account is created. When your account is created, this is the microsite to apply for. You can see in the middle the button Apply Now. But before, please read the documents. In the section Read First, in the documents you can find the guide for applicants, frequently asked questions, application form, and of course some information about the webinars which were made before and which are coming in the future. The deadline, as I said before, this is the 8th of March at 5 Brussels time. And here is the button to apply to the open call. When you start a new application, you can add a contributor, so you can add as many people as you want to work together on the application. And those are the sections which we are asking you to fill in. We are asking for some basic information and the general information about the applicants, and then there are sections which are evaluated by the evaluators. So in the relevance section, we ask you for ambition, dimension, community engagement, European dimension. In the impact section, vulnerability to climate change impacts, limited resources, expected impact of the project implementation. And in the implementation section, we ask you for description of the team, some resources, implementation plan. In the section resources, we ask you for the budget prediction. During the application, if you have any questions, we invite you to ask for support. You can find the button Help Desk. In the Help Desk, this is the online website where you can ask your questions, and we, of course, have the email helpdesk.climax@fundingbox.com. If you use this email, we will directly answer your questions. If you want to know more about the CLIMAAX in general, this is also the button to go to the main project website. And of course, we invite you to join our social media, where we publish all of the news related to the CLIMAAX project. Thank you very much, and we are waiting for your questions related to the open call application.
Thank you very much for that, Aneta. I think we do have some questions in the chat, so perhaps we can start with some questions about the open call. As promised earlier, let's start with Conrad's question saying, "Good morning, thank you very much for organizing the event. My question is, a public scientific institute, can we get involved in the project?"
It's a scientific institute. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you can apply to the project.
That is great news, and in any case, there is also a guide on the website, as we said earlier. So feel free to double check there, and if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to ask them in the chat now, or contact us in the dedicated website. We also have a question from Maximilian Holberg saying, hello, is it also possible for federal states to apply?
Yes, it's also possible to apply for federal states.
Okay, that is great. For now, I don't see any other questions in the chat, so feel free to keep them coming if you do have questions, because now is the moment to ask away. We are not that far from the deadline on 8 March, so it is really the time to shine and work on the applications. So feel free to ask away if you have questions. Feel free to ask them in the chat. We have another one coming in. 2 more questions. That's great. If a municipality has already estimated the subcontracting expenses and identified the subcontractor, for example, an SME, is it eligible to name this subcontractor in the application form?
Yes, you can include in the application form the information about the subcontractor. We don't have any limits for subcontracting in the application form. So if you need subcontracting, you can include it. You can include in the application form. It will be assessed, of course, by the evaluators. And it's really good that you have it before the start of the project.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question from Evangelia. Then Christina also has a question. Are there opportunities for collaborating between regions that are awarded funds through the open call? How does CLIMAAX encourage knowledge sharing and collaboration among the selected regions?
So before the open call finished, it's not possible to collaborate between applicants. But after that, yeah, I think, I don't know, Nicola, Daniel, how about the collaboration between them?
I think that the open call is thought for single applicants. It's not thought for groups of applicants. Of course, if 2 applicants want to collaborate because there are neighbors, that's not a problem. But for the application, you cannot go multiple applicants inside a single application.
Thank you very much for answering that question. Perhaps a follow-up question for you. I was wondering, in case the applicant is accepted, could you please tell us how the CLIMAAX project ensures that the project maintains a coherence with the regional context, in the sense that how do you address these specific issues? What is the help that you will get if you participate? What is the next step if you get accepted as a participant?
Well, essentially the idea is that this is funding for making regions and communities. This is important, that can be also communities reduced than regional institutions start thinking about adaptation. So we will propose these ideas, conceptual framework, and then some tools to help you to first make first analysis, but also the call directly requests that the applicants think about to use their own data, because normally when you go to local and regional scale, you can have very valuable local data that can enhance the analysis and even the comprehension of which will be the impacts of the climate change on the hazards that affect you. And this is very important. This is key. This is a step that it is key, both in the evaluation, but also for the work we expect from the applicants.
Thank you very much for that. We have a number of questions also coming in the chat still, asking, the application form says, what resources, including team and/or external services and skills, do you have to effectively manage and lead? Provide evidence. What kind of evidence do you expect in this case?
I think that what we are expecting is that your team, your region should be prepared to deal with the, what we have asked, and so we following and complying with the 3 phases approach. So that's why we ask for, let's say, the evidence about the team, because this will help us in understanding how is feasible the proposal and the proposed activities you are putting in the application.
Thank you very much for that. And another question coming in from Nora. Can you shed light on the criteria used to evaluate applications in the open call? What factors play a significant role in determining the suitability of a region or authority for participation?
So during my presentation, I told about 3 of the criteria that are evaluated by evaluators, and this is relevance, impact, and implementation. And inside of those, you can see some, I don't know if people can see the screen. Yeah. So you can see the ambition dimension, community engagement, European dimension, vulnerability, resources, expected impact of the project implementation, team resources implementation plan. So all of those 3 criteria are evaluated by evaluators, and each of the criterion you can receive up to 5 points, and then we count it as a ranking list. So yeah, this is what we are asking for.
Thank you very much. We also have a question. Do we need to attach the gender equality plan of a municipality to the application?
Yes, so you can attach as a document, or you can attach a link to the website where the gender equality plan is placed. So we just need a proof, but it can be in a different way.
Thank you very much. Another one, in case there is a climate risk assessment in a municipality, should we attach it? Is this evidence?
We don't ask for attaching this.
All right. Another question. Do we need to attach the mandate regulation in the application? Will this be a problem if it is in our national language?
It may be in the national language, but also it needs to be translated for us. So you have to then show us both in your language and in English language.
Thank you very much. Another question. Please describe the plan for implementing the required activities in 3 phases. Provide evidence for each one of the 3 phases. What kind of evidence do you expect in this case?
In this case, we expect that the applicants have well understood this 3 phases approach and show, as we ask evidence in what are the resources, the methodology, the pathway they will follow in fulfilling all the 3 phases. So this is already described in the scheme, but let's say we need a credible detail on how these activities will be performed.
Thank you very much, Nicola, for that. Another question. The funding is for 22 months. Is there a fixed time limit for starting and finishing the project?
Yes, so let me show you the table. So this is the table, and as you can see, each deliverable needs to be finished in the specific timeline. So the first one is month 6, the second one is month 18, and the last one is month 22. And there is also the final payment. This is the retention payment at the end of the whole climate project estimated September 2027. So this is the general timeline for your project, and you need to stick to those months. And you can see the grant, the percentage of the grant which you will receive after each of the milestone.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Conrad. When receiving funds, can we prepare the analysis and documents ourselves, or should we outsource them? Daniel?
I think that from a previous question of Conrad, we were not enough precise. A university cannot participate on the call. And this is something that probably in the first answer was not clear. But once the project is started, you can decide depending on the capacities. If you are a municipality or you are a unit that have the technical skills to do the analysis that represents understanding climate change scenarios, manipulating data to go to your region, link this with the hazards, you can do yourself, of course, that is not a problem. And this is what we wanted, that you prove, let me say, the credibility that you can do it with an explanation. It's not necessarily the CVs of the people in the unit, in the applicant, but at least explain that you have these skills. If not, we encourage to look for external support, and this is the role, for instance, for a university or an institution that do research, that can support these municipalities or communities doing the work because they have these skills when the applicant has not the skills. But it is not forced. It depends on the applicant institution.
Thank you very much for these clarifications, Daniel. There is another question about evidence. Evidence about the team. Does that, for example, mean CVs? Evangelina wants to know.
No, I think that what we need is a statement that proves that they have the internal skills to do it, or they are ready to look for these skills outside outsourcing or subcontracting.
Thank you very much for that. Another follow-up question is, are the dates for month 1 and month 22 already fixed?
It will depend on the process of preparing the subcontract agreement. Once the selection is done, there is a contract that the applicant or the successful applicant will sign with the project. And this will be, depending on the institution, can be very quick or it can be a little bit more slowed. And then if there is an outsourcing or subcontracting, probably if the applicant is an authority, is a national, well, regional, but it is a public authority, will require a procedure for tendering or procurement, and this will probably impact on the starting point. But our idea is that for this first call, the applicants, successful applicants, can start between July and September, and we'll have 22 months to develop the activity.
All right, thank you very much for the clarifications. I think we answered all the questions in the chat for now. I would like to also mention that we have an extended Q&A on this topic after the regular session today. So please, if you come up with any questions in the meantime, feel free to ask them there. We have a couple of minutes left before the break, I would say. I was a bit of a harsh moderator earlier in the session, in the first session, and there was actually a question in the chat. So I was wondering if Anna is still online, if she would be able to answer that question for us. And the question was, it was mentioned that the implementation of the framework with the toolbox at regional and local levels were implemented. Can you share some practical scenarios or success stories illustrating how this was implemented and carried out?
give some practical examples just yet. I would say not myself, maybe others can complement. What we've been working on is developing a framework that is practical, is not just conceptual. It lays the foundations from a principles perspective. I think Michaela presented it very well, because obviously at the end of the day we're talking about consequences for people, decision making that has significant consequences, and at the same time we have to think about the high quality of the process. And within that framework we will be developing guidance on specific challenges. In particular, regions are facing the specific challenge of how climate change is affecting future impacts. So one area we'll be working on into your work using the toolbox. So analysis, but also the information on damage functions and so on in a particular case connect together. So it's one part of the process, but maybe somebody else would like to complement from there. Thanks, Gib.
Thank you very much, Anna. Perhaps Michaela or Datse, would you like to add anything to that from what you've seen on the ground of what you've been working on thus far?
Could you please repeat the question? Sorry.
So the question was regarding the local level. What experiences, what tangible experiences have you seen that you implemented?
I think in the Latvia case, as we were working a lot together with the Latvia case, it was very interesting to see that the framework and the toolbox for them was at the beginning were two different things, and now things are coming more together. And I think this is really helpful to also provide this conceptual framework and also practical framework. So when things really come together, I think this is really helpful for the region, also that we experienced while working together.
Thank you very much for that. Would anyone like to add something to that? Perhaps Reinhard or Datse? Okay, I do have a follow-up question for you. So how does the identification of key risks contribute to a more effective development of climate risk assessments?
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Perfectly.
So the key risk step is about prioritizing action. The risk analysis and the toolbox would lead to great and comprehensive estimates of what risks are in a certain municipality, community, or region. Then we emphasize this key risk step is really then about tackling that question, okay, where should we look, what should we tackle, given limited resources as always there are, what to take forward, like focusing on flood risk, heat risk, to health or other risks. So it's really about that, identifying what's urgent and what's severe. Severe would be the level of risk. Urgency would also be thinking about what actions to take and that bring risks down, but what actions to take also while harnessing benefits. For example, if there's a new regional development plan being constructed, so there may be benefits like bringing risk in and making sure risks are properly accounted for. Or maybe if you take action on risk now, business may be attracted to move into these places that have been risk-prone before actions are taken. So there's also opportunities that can be considered. Mostly the project is about the challenges, but there's also certain opportunities, and that's what we're emphasizing. Thanks.
I think that's very important to make. That's it.
Yeah, may I add, actually, it depends on the knowledge that you are right now. Because, for example, in our case, we wanted to start with something quite simple, something that we understand. Maybe we already know the results that will come out of the toolbox, for example, but we need to start somewhere. And while starting with a climate risk that is quite obvious, it's easier to start, and then we will get first thoughts of how this all works together, and then we can go into deeper other, for example, sectors or fields and talk to other people, other organizations, and find out what they want, because based on the field where you are, you will start there, and then you can deep further, and when you will have the first example how to actually do it.
And I was also wondering, because we mentioned that there's such a diverse set of issues, of risks, environmental risks, how do you make sure that that the project is inclusive to all these various stakeholders? There's many different stakeholders involved, and how do you engage all these communities in developing a comprehensive risk assessment? I would say perhaps Reinhard could answer the question, or Michaela, sorry.
Yeah, I think I can answer this. So as you could see in the framework presentation, the participatory processes are really central should be really central to each step. So the regions themselves need to make sure that the relevant stakeholders and groups are included, and they should be included in every single step. In some steps more, in some steps less. But this is really up to the regions to decide who they are and to bring them in.
And perhaps speaking about including the local stakeholders, are there perhaps, Tatsu, maybe you could answer this question, some tips or best practices on this front, on how you really can engage that at local level?
Yeah, this is not an easy question, because it depends also on the knowledge that they have. Because there are a lot of people that we have to talk with them what is actually climate, that climate is changing, that this is real, and so on. But I think the good first example may help. If we analyze some part of climate risk that was obvious, and we had, for example, in Latvia a year ago, we had a huge hail event, and if we're talking about people, talking with people about the hail, they all saw that this is real, that it damaged a lot of things, and if we are analyzing something that was real a few years ago, everybody is understanding it, and we can base our studies on this event, and afterwards showing other fields, other organization, this case study, then we can convince them to jump in and do their own climate risk assessment.
So in essence, it's also about practical things, in the sense that you see what's going on when there is such a major event, weather-wise, let's say. And I was thinking, if Anna's still online, from a research perspective, how is it challenging sometimes to translate something that is more research-based into language that at local level is also understood and evaluated as it should be?
Absolutely, and it's been really interesting to follow the meetings these past 2 days and really hear the experience of the pilots. So while we, from a sort of say academic perspective, develop a framework which is built on the robust scientific knowledge, it has very strong concepts, and it's an important basis on which we can base a high quality process that we can share in Europe. We need to understand what it means on the ground to implement climate risk assessment, what the pressures are on the agencies that are undertaking this work. Obviously, as I was saying before, it involves damages and consequences to people. So this is a different dimension to the one that we're used to working in an academic context. And so I think CLIMAAX is really suited to build a new way of working for us. In a way, we have to define our academic work from the perspective of what the implications are locally and in practice according to the agencies and actors that are working on the ground. So, we know that the climate is changing and we're facing even new and novel conditions. And what's important is that we're facing critical risks already today. And there's a lot to be done in terms of catching up in a way with the pace of climate change. And that's something that we need to do both from a research or academic side and the local context in which actors are having to work. So this project is really unique in that way. I think it'd be wonderful when we have participants coming in through the cluster funding that we can implement this new way of working.
Thank you very much for your answer on that, and I think indeed you're right. It's such a lovely project, and this is also why we organized this Webstival, because there's so many stakeholders, and we would like to connect all stakeholders together in half a day, really. So I think that really embodies that. So thank you very much for that input, Anna. There is, I think we have a bit of time. There is one question about the open call still, so I think it's good if we address that before we go on a short break. The question is, apart from the regulation to develop a climate risk assessment that needs to be in English, the gender equality plan needs to be in English as well?
Everything needs to be translated, but of course you have to show us the original gender equality plan and then your translation. So yeah, it has to be translated.
Thank you very much for answering that question. I think it's an excellent moment to go for a break. Thank you very much to all of our esteemed panelists and also the speakers for these two sessions in the beginning. We kind of ended up merging them a little bit, so thank you very much for your flexibility as well. For those here in person and online, feel free to take a moment to stretch and recharge, or to continue the discussion in the chat, or ask your questions there in the meantime, and we'll get to them after our break. So we would like to see you back in about 10 minutes. So see you then. Thank you very much for now.
We are on a fast track to climate disaster. Major cities underwater, unprecedented heat waves, terrifying storms, widespread water shortages, the extinction of a million species of plants and animals. And this is not fiction or exaggeration. It's time to stop burning our planet.
A Rábida, um tesouro natural. Uma extensa cordilheira majestosa que se ergue, marcando a paisagem dos municípios de Palmela, Sesimbra e Setúbal, a braços com o Sado. Sítio natural de valor excepcional e ímpar pela sua beleza, rico em património geológico, ecológico e cultural. Uma unidade orgânica interdependente. Uma identidade geográfica única que se pretende preparar para um dos maiores desafios do século: as alterações climáticas. Os 3 municípios juntaram-se à sociedade civil num exercício de cocriação e preparam 3 planos locais de adaptação às alterações climáticas, um para cada município, onde estão identificados os principais perigos que já enfrentam e que se irão agravar até ao final deste século. Um dos maiores riscos associados às alterações climáticas para o território da Rábida é o aumento do risco de incêndio em todo o território. Alguns dos fenómenos previstos para o final do século estão já a acontecer. Exemplo disto é o incêndio que recentemente lavrou toda a encosta do Castelo de Palmela. As alterações climáticas aumentam a probabilidade e a frequência dos episódios de seca e também das ondas de calor. O mês de maio de 2022 foi o mais quente e seco em 92 anos, em que 97% do continente esteve em condição de seca severa. Atualmente, no território da Rábida, registram-se cerca de 2 a 10 dias de temperaturas superiores a 35 graus. De acordo com os modelos climáticos, prevê-se que no final do século os termómetros estarão acima dos 35 graus ao longo de 44 dias. Aliados a estes longos períodos de calor, prevê-se também um agravamento da suscetibilidade de seca para o final do século XXI. Desde há um ano que Portugal continental tem a maior parte do seu território em situação de seca, situação que se irá agravar com as alterações climáticas. Os edifícios expostos a este risco localizam-se em zonas de vertente como o Portinho da Arrábida e o bairro do Viso em Setúbal, no centro da vila de Sesimbra e nas serras do Louro e de São Luís em Palmela. Todos os concelhos do território estão sujeitos ao perigo de cheias rápidas, com especial destaque para o centro da cidade de Setúbal, onde as cheias eram frequentes antes da construção das baías de retenção no Parque da Várzea. No território arrábida, este tipo de inundação afeta sobretudo o estuário do Rio Sado. A subida do nível médio do mar colocará em risco a frente ribeirinha da cidade de Setúbal e a zona de Sapal que se estende desde Setúbal até Palmela. De acordo com os modelos climáticos, no final do século XXI, as praias de Setúbal e Sesimbra estarão suscetíveis à ocorrência de inundações ou galgamentos costeiros. Considerando que a erosão e recuo de arribas afetará também os territórios de Setúbal e Sesimbra, as praias da Arrábida e toda a faixa costeira de Sesimbra estarão em risco. É essencial anteciparmos às alterações climáticas não só através da mitigação, mas tomando as medidas necessárias para adaptarmos. Não podemos controlar o clima nem as alterações climáticas, mas sim podemos antecipar e minimizar os seus impactos. Isso depende de nós. Estes planos são fundamentais para fazer do nosso um território mais seguro, mais sustentável e com maior qualidade de vida. Estes planos colocam a primeira pedra para construir o futuro que queremos para o território e para as próximas gerações.
We are on a fast track to climate disaster. Major cities underwater, unprecedented heat waves, terrifying storms, widespread water shortages, the extinction of a million species of plants and animals. And this is not fiction or exaggeration. It's time to stop burning our planet.
Arrábida, um tesouro natural. Uma extensa cordilheira majestosa que se ergue, marcando a paisagem dos municípios de Palmela, Sesimbra e Setúbal, a braços com o Sado. Sítio natural de valor excepcional e ímpar pela sua beleza, rico em património geológico, ecológico e cultural. Uma unidade orgânica interdependente. Uma identidade geográfica única que se pretende preparar para um dos maiores desafios do século: as alterações climáticas. Os 3 municípios juntaram-se à sociedade civil num exercício de cocriação e preparam 3 planos locais de adaptação às alterações climáticas, um para cada município, onde estão identificados os principais perigos que já enfrentam e que se irão agravar até ao final deste século. Um dos maiores riscos associados às alterações climáticas para o território da Arrábida é o aumento do risco de incêndio em todo o território. Alguns dos fenómenos previstos para o final do século estão já a acontecer. Exemplo disto é o incêndio que recentemente lavrou toda a encosta do Castelo de Palmela. As alterações climáticas aumentam a probabilidade e a frequência dos episódios de seca e também das ondas de calor. O mês de maio de 2022 foi o mais quente e seco em 92 anos, em que 97% do continente esteve em condição de seca severa. Atualmente, no território da Arrábida, registram-se cerca de 2 a 10 dias de temperaturas superiores a 35 graus. De acordo com os modelos climáticos, prevê-se que no final do século os termómetros estarão acima dos 35 graus ao longo de 44 dias. Aliados a estes longos períodos de calor, prevê-se também um agravamento da suscetibilidade de seca para o final do século XXI. Desde há um ano que Portugal continental tem a maior parte do seu território em situação de seca, situação que se irá agravar com as alterações climáticas. Os edifícios expostos a este risco localizam-se em zonas de vertente como o Portinho da Arrábida e o bairro do Viso em Setúbal, no centro da vila de Sesimbra e nas serras do Louro e de São Luís em Palmela. Todos os concelhos do território estão sujeitos ao perigo de cheias rápidas, com especial destaque para o centro da cidade de Setúbal, onde as cheias eram frequentes antes da construção das baías de retenção no Parque da Várzea. No território arrábida, este tipo de inundação afeta sobretudo o estuário do Rio Sado. A subida do nível médio do mar colocará em risco a frente ribeirinha da cidade de Setúbal e a zona de Sapal que se estende desde Setúbal até Palmela. De acordo com os modelos climáticos, no final do século XXI, as praias de Setúbal e Sesimbra estarão suscetíveis à ocorrência de inundações ou galgamentos costeiros. Considerando que a erosão e recuo de arribas afetará também os territórios de Setúbal e Sesimbra, as praias da Arrábida e toda a faixa costeira de Sesimbra estarão em risco. É essencial anteciparmos às alterações climáticas não só através da mitigação, mas tomando as medidas necessárias para adaptarmos. Não podemos controlar o clima nem as alterações climáticas, mas sim podemos antecipar e minimizar os seus impactos. Isso depende de nós. Estes planos são fundamentais para fazer do nosso um território mais seguro, mais sustentável e com maior qualidade de vida. Estes planos colocam a primeira pedra para construir o futuro que queremos para o território e para as próximas gerações.
We are on a fast track to climate disaster. Major cities underwater, unprecedented heat waves, terrifying storms, widespread water shortages, the extinction of a million species of plants and animals. And this is not fiction or exaggeration. It's time to stop burning our planet.
Arrábida, um tesouro natural. Uma extensa cordilheira majestosa que se ergue, marcando a paisagem dos municípios de Palmela, Sesimbra e Setúbal, a braços com o Sado. Sítio natural de valor excepcional e ímpar pela sua beleza, rico em património geológico, ecológico e cultural. Uma unidade orgânica interdependente. Uma identidade geográfica única que se pretende preparar para um dos maiores desafios do século: as alterações climáticas. Os 3 municípios juntaram-se à sociedade civil num exercício de cocriação e preparam 3 planos locais de adaptação às alterações climáticas, um para cada município, onde estão identificados os principais perigos que já enfrentam e que se irão agravar até ao final deste século. Um dos maiores riscos associados às alterações climáticas para o território da Arrábida é o aumento do risco de incêndio em todo o território. Alguns dos fenómenos previstos para o final do século estão já a acontecer. Exemplo disto é o incêndio que recentemente lavrou toda a encosta do Castelo de Palmela. As alterações climáticas aumentam a probabilidade e a frequência dos episódios de seca e também das ondas de calor. O mês de maio de 2022 foi o mais quente e seco em 92 anos, em que 97% do continente esteve em condição de seca severa. Atualmente, no território da Rábida, registram-se cerca de 2 a 10 dias de temperaturas superiores a 35 graus. De acordo com os modelos climáticos, prevê-se que no final do século os termómetros estarão acima dos 35 graus ao longo de 44 dias. Aliados a estes longos períodos de calor, prevê-se também um agravamento da suscetibilidade de seca para o final do século XXI. Desde há um ano que Portugal continental tem a maior parte do seu território em situação de seca, situação que se irá agravar com as alterações climáticas. Os edifícios expostos a este risco localizam-se em zonas de vertente como o Portinho da Rábida e o bairro do Viso em Setúbal, no centro da vila de Sesimbra e nas serras do Louro e de São Luís em Palmela. Todos os concelhos do território estão sujeitos ao perigo de cheias rápidas, com especial destaque para o centro da cidade de Setúbal, onde as cheias eram frequentes antes da construção das baías de retenção no Parque da Várzea. No território arrábida, este tipo de inundação afeta sobretudo o estuário do Rio Sado. A subida do nível médio do mar colocará em risco a frente ribeirinha da cidade de Setúbal e a zona de Sapal que se estende desde Setúbal até Palmela. De acordo com os modelos climáticos, no final do século XXI, as praias de Setúbal e Sesimbra estarão suscetíveis à ocorrência de inundações ou galgamentos costeiros. Considerando que a erosão e recuo de arribas afetará também os territórios de Setúbal e Sesimbra, as praias da Arrábida e toda a faixa costeira de Sesimbra estarão em risco. É essencial anteciparmos às alterações climáticas não só através da mitigação, mas tomando as medidas necessárias para adaptarmos. Não podemos controlar o clima nem as alterações climáticas, mas sim podemos antecipar e minimizar os seus impactos. Isso depende de nós. Estes planos são fundamentais para fazer do nosso um território mais seguro, mais sustentável e com maior qualidade de vida. Estes planos colocam a primeira pedra para construir o futuro que queremos para o território e para as próximas gerações.
We are on a fast track to climate disaster.
All right, let's take our seats again. Let's continue the session. We are experiencing a very slight delay, but let's keep going. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you're full of energy and ready to continue our session today. It is now time to hear from the pilot regions and about their first-hand experience to get a grasp of what it is like to join the CLIMAAX family. And to do that, we'll first hear from Milan Kallas, Innovation and Partnership Officer at CAIO. Also, after that, our host, Cristina Coelho, who is with the pilot region of Setúbal, and also our host this week, Michael Sarney, an innovation consultant at Unovia and representative of Žilina City. We also welcome back Dace to the stage, our Latvian pilot representative, and we welcome Thomas Kuhn, head of group and senior researcher, climate change and future cities at the Finnish Meteorological Institute. So without taking too much time away, I would welcome Milan to the stage.
Thank you. So I will be giving very brief helicopter view of the tools we are developing to support the regions to perform their climate risk assessments. Missing slides. we seem to have a... I sent you in the morning. Right?
Yeah. We have it. It seems like we selected the wrong slide in the USB. These things happen. This is a hybrid event. This is totally fine. Should we perhaps start with the second presentation instead, and then we try, in the meantime, to recover the slides? It is on the USB, so we could also select a different file. All right. All right. Seems like we already solved the issue.
No.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Sorry, Milan.
No problem. I will just skip the intro then, and I will go straight to the slides. So basically, what I wanted to say was, like, we are working hard now to make the tools more accessible to normal people, to make them more visual, more attractive, and very much storytelling, explaining how the risk assessment is being done in a very, very easy to understand language. We are providing the guidance on how the regional climate risk assessment is being done, guidance on the basic concept of risk with very, very easy to understand visual examples. We would like to provide the regions with basic information at the European scale, how the hazard is changing between the situation now and the future, which should help them to do the scoping phase of their climate risk assessment. We will guide them through how they can work with the European hazard information, and we will also explain them how they integrate the local hazard exposure and vulnerability into the risk assessments. We will provide them examples how our pilot regions are doing it, including the code, And what I would like to highlight, and you probably heard it already a few times today, that all the tools we are providing are designed to be transferable. Like if something was developed in one region, we are also trying to test it in the other region, and we are building this experience that the solutions we are providing are very easy to be transferred somewhere else. So it should provide like sort of a baseline where you can see what the other regions were doing, and you can start intervening and doing your own realization out of it. In the toolbox, you will find these examples, again, in a very, very nice and easy to understand visual interface. And you already see here the Setúbal case, and Žilina and Kristina and Michal will tell you more about their experience so far. So,
good morning, everybody. So I'm Christina, thanking for attending this Webfestival. So we were asked as a pilot region of CLIMAAX to make a storyline about our participation on the project and how it has been so far. So this is what I have to share with you. So Setúbal, it's a territory enclosed by two important protected areas with mountains, the Rábida mountain on one side of the territory, and then the Sado estuary on the other side. And the city is right in the middle of these two natural protected areas. And it also has on the very close, a very important port for international cargo and also industry facilities near the estuary Sado. That's the map that resumes our location and our reality. We had several severe episodes of flash flooding in our recent past here in Setúbal. This photo, for instance, is from 2008. We are right now at the City Hall with this Webfestival. This photo is really outside the City Hall. All my colleagues that worked here but that year had to be rescued by boat by our fire department colleagues also. So this is just a photo, but it was quite normal during winter for the downtown of Setúbal to get flash flooding episodes with severe economical and also commercial losses with strong damages. As you can see, this is quite an older picture from 41, from the last century. And these flash floods have been triggered in our territory for intensive rainfall, condensed through very few hours, mostly during autumn and spring seasons. And this is related to the short concentration of time within small catchments coupled with the typical occurrence of high peak discharge of rainfall and with a very high sediment load. So it has also to do with our topography because we are on near the Rábida mountain, so when there's these peaks of intensive rain, then all the water comes down from the mountain to the city center of Setúbal area. So the Setúbal territory already had, before joining CLIMAAX project, some climate change scenarios for our territory. And what we are showing you here is the sustainability projections for Setúbal until 2100. That was made with our partners also here at the CLIMAAX project. That's the EGOT team. They made the projections for all the Rábida territory, for Setúbal, Sesimbra, and Palmela municipalities. And you can see on this slide that we have the RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5 with quite graphic display of the preoccupying areas on our territory. You can see right in the middle the Livramento stream that really concerns us because it has a very the higher susceptibility for flash flooding. So, as you can see, this is a zoom in, what I've talked earlier. Mostly, our most concerning area is right where the city of Setúbal is. That's the dark blue you can see on the map. And then there's areas with low susceptibility that are located along streams around the natural areas. So, this is the assessment of present-day exposure. We did it with residential buildings, strategic, vital, or sensitive equipment, and roads and railways. And what we did joining the CLIMAAX project was about this risk hazard, that is flash flooding. We started to compare our data from EGOT with the scenarios and the work that CLIMAAX team, the consortium, is doing. So you can see that we have already identified that the city center of Setúbal, the flash flooding episodes can affect up to 12% of the residential buildings. And while of the administrative buildings of the city are located right in the middle of the city, they are expected to be flooded as well as many health facilities like hospitals and education buildings like schools. So one of our major concerns is the potential disruption of emergency management in terms of these situations due to flooded roads, buildings, and although we calculated that only 6% of our roads will be flooded by the exposed roads that we have on the map, they are of high importance for emergency situations response because, for instance, there's one road that's the only connection to the industrial area at the Mitrena region in the estuary area. Also, we identified the vulnerable population concerning this hazard, and our main concern is the city center. Again, we have a medieval wall, it's quite beautiful, but we had a socioeconomic assessment of the population there, and we know that we have the old city center of Setúbal, it's more vulnerable than the other areas according with our data because of the demography, the economic status, education, and housing on this area. So, about this, what did we do? So since the flash flooding in 2008, the one that you saw the picture in the second slide, we've been adapting and investing in adaptation measures, and mainly at the city center of Setúbal because this was our major hazard identified so far. So we implemented, we joined a meteorological network on the Lisbon metropolitan area with implementing meteorological stations throughout the 18 municipalities of Lisbon metropolitan area. And we created a park, that is the Várzea Park, that has retention basins in order to accommodate these situations of heavy rainfall occurrences. And on top of that territory of the retaining basins, we are now developing an architectural project to increase the sponge phenomenon of that soil. So we are going to make a big plantation project for having a very beautiful park over there.
Setúbal is surrounded by protected areas such as the Rábida mountain range and the Sado estuary. However, the Mediterranean climate, typical of southern Europe, with the hot and dry summers and rainy winters, increases the risk of floods, a phenomenon exacerbated by climate change. To address this issue, the Setúbal City Council invested over 3 million euros in the Várzea Urban Park, where retention basins were constructed to prevent flooding in the downtown during heavy rainfall. In this park, we prioritize natural-based solutions because we believe that nature is the best teacher. We have kept the soil as natural as possible, prioritized native vegetation, and emphasized the protection of existing biodiversity. For all these reasons, this is the most innovative park in Europe. It's the first constructed with natural-based solutions on such a significant scale, combining urban characteristics and allowing people to enjoy nature in the heart of the city.
So that's one example concerning flash flooding that we've been assessing the data that we had previously with 2 years from the EGOT team, and now we are corroborating the data with the CLIMAAX team, and it's been a very joyful ride, and we're going to continue with other hazards. This is flash flooding, but we expect to continue to work with the consortium team on the other risks. And thank you.
Then I would welcome to the stage Michal.
Good morning. My name is Michal Žarnai. I come from Žilina, one of the pilot cities in the CLIMAAX project, where we work together with Milan, who was presenting a while ago. Unlike Christina from Setúbal, I cannot offer such a great example of adaptation and integration of one example because our work in progress doesn't allow it yet. However, there is a set of lessons learned as well from the process so far. And some of them have been already mentioned, for instance, by Dace in the first part. Anyway, if I repeat them, you can see that it's not a case of one pilot city, but it can be case of more regions and cities. So first of all, words like vulnerability, hazard, risk, exposure. If you watched the presentation of Milan a while ago, he was playing with these terms as if it was his morning exercise. While for some of us coming from different sectors, new to this area, I could say a year ago when starting on the kickoff meeting, the words, what? I'm lost. I need to understand the term's meaning first. So CLIMAAX helps to understand these terms. When you work on this, you have got the experts who can explain it to you. And I believe that most of the municipalities and regions who participate in this topic will also say, I'm lost, I need help. So you will get it here. Another example, what I perceive from work within this year, our municipality says, give me a practical recipe. I do not have time to invent stuff. I want something practical. I want something what I can apply immediately. On the other side, if you listen to Milan or other guys in the consortium coming from the academia, they say, let us think how we can do it, and how about this idea, and so on. So two different worlds coming to a meeting, and this is quite colorful in the CLIMAAX, and I would say one of the main challenges to find common language and to find a good interface that the sides understand each other. So the project is here to bridge these different worlds. Number three, what we realized just recently, we got the first results. Well, basically in Žilina, we have got two priority risks to assess, and it's flash floods, as Christina was showing a beautiful example of Setúbal. We have got something similar. And the other one are heat waves, which in Central Europe, in Slovakia, are affecting more and more. The warm weather is moving from south to north slowly. So in one of the meetings, the researchers showed the first results, and we were amazed that the heat waves is not just for summer, but it's also for winter. The guy said, in December, there will be more warm temperature, more warm days. Also, we can speak about some heat waves. It doesn't matter that it's not 30 degrees Celsius or 35, what we are sensitive to, but even 10 degrees for winter is a heat wave. So that was kind of learning for some of us, that heat wave can be also in winter. Our main job in the city is to put together local data, mainly on the events which happened, and on the sensitive places, on the sensitive infrastructure, the people affected, and so on. And during this process also, there were a couple of lessons learned. So for instance, we got on board Fire and Rescue Corps, and the manager of the regional unit of this Fire and Rescue Corps, Marek, one day commented that, well, he made intervention analysis in the last 4 years. And when we put it together on a map, well, first of all, he made a list of these interventions, and he realized that most of the interventions were assistances to old people and solving fallen trees. So this led us to the learning that really assistance to old people is an issue, and that this will be probably one of the principal indicators in the system which we are building through CLIMAAX. So that's a lesson learned for him and for some of us in the team. It was already mentioned that you may have many hazards which are relevant to the pilot or to any municipality or community, and you have to prioritize. What is interesting for me here, do not think only of the present hazards, the present places where the flash floods happen, but also think what will come in the future. Of course, some of it can be more intensive, but there can be new hazards. So we should also take this into account. The future frequency and maybe some new hazards. This leads to the next point, that there are many uncertainties, that there are many, well, sometimes you feel like chaos. As Dace was saying in the beginning, a lot of terms, a lot of ideas, and you have to start somewhere. So that's another lesson learned. Yeah, forget about building the system from the beginning, just start somewhere and iterate. You will come to some position, and then you can build on the learnings and apply the framework again to improve the data, to improve the process, to have it more relevant. And just by doing the framework, which was presented, the circle, you are not lost in the atmosphere. Yeah, and finally, on the right-hand side, you can see the picture from the geographical information system, which, thanks to CLIMAAX, we started to build. And there are spots where the Fire and Rescue Corps has been intervening on one day in the last 4 years. And we were just thinking, well, how about study the area? So we put this area, the blue, what you can see. And now we are thinking, well, it's interesting, but probably the local storm was not of this shape, it was of different shape. And why other parts of the city are not affected or were not intervened? What is the reason? Is it that there are not old people, or is it that there are not old houses, and so on? So some other questions were raised. I cannot provide answers straight away, but by looking at the picture and analyzing the data, thanks to this project, we got to these questions, and we can learn something more about our city and about the system, and build a better system for it. So to finalize, yeah, we also have to pay attention to the hotspots, but also to understand something about the surrounding. I think that's so much about brief lessons learned in Žilina, Slovakia. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Micha, and for all the interventions. I thought they were very good and show a very good picture of what it is like to be involved in this project from a pilot's point of view. So let's open the discussion. We have some time for questions. Maybe starting directly with you again, Michal, could you perhaps share an example of how CLIMAAX contributed to enhancing the understanding of the climate risk in your region? Because you said that you gained many new insights, and how was it in the communication with the project partners, and how did you gain that understanding later on?
Right, I would pick up some of the points which I mentioned in the presentation and elaborate more on them. In fact, point number one is about the heat waves, that they are not just for summer. And that was an interesting thing, maybe necessary some more explanation here. In the team in Žilina, we are a multidisciplinary team. There are guys, well, the GIS expert, the environmental expert, the fire and rescue service guy. And then there is a lady from university taking care of these topics from the academic point of view. And this was actually her finding during the meeting, that the heat waves are also for winter. Yeah, and to me, it was a bit surprising. Well, but that's learning. So that was one of very interesting points. About the interventions of the guy from the fire and rescue service, that was very interesting to see also his learning. And maybe the example that when you take a guy who is in day-to-day service, leading a team, and they of course help people with the interventions, and suddenly you put him to some analytic role, and he has to look from the bird's eye view on the data. Suddenly he can realize things like, yes, old people and the trees, the fallen trees, are the main reasons of our work, and maybe if we do something systematical to this, we can improve.
And you also mentioned there sometimes there's a little bit of a discrepancy between institutions and municipalities, so the research side and municipality side. Could you elaborate a little bit further on how CLIMAAX is bridging that in your experience? And Dace and Christina, or the other panelists, of course, feel free to also jump in here. But could you explain a little bit how CLIMAAX is bridging that, according to you?
What helps us is that we have common workshops, that all sides are listening to each other. We try to explain things, to take every opinion into account, and to realize that we have got these differences. And everyone is trying his best to put into the topic. So the academic point of view, the municipal point of view, like I'm quite happy that the people who are working on this in Žilina are really contributing the best what they can.
That's really great to hear. And is that similar for you, Dace?
Yeah, and I want to add that people here are very smart, but still there are a lot of questions that has been asked, but nobody actually can answer them, because we are learning one from each other. Even the scientists, even the smartest people in this room, they may have some questions. So it is interesting how we can work all together. Like we as a pilots, we are sometimes I feel very small and like I know nothing, but actually people in the other part of the room, they may learn from me, and so I guess it's the same for the people online. They may have some knowledge that nobody has right now here.
Thank you very much. I think that's a great example of how those two worlds kind of connect and how we can benefit from each other as well. And perhaps from that other side, maybe more towards Thomas and Milan. How do you see it from that side, from the other side? Is it a similar experience?
Well, I think it's a very interesting exercise, and I cannot agree more about the communication. I see it because we are like on two chairs. We are on the development side for supporting Žilina, but also now like doing the integration at the higher level. And I think we are as smart as the input we are getting from the region. So bringing all the people and have this consolidated output from the pilots, where they have dialogues with the stakeholders, they really engage them, and then they come and communicate to us, the developers, and we sit and discuss. Like, we know the scientific part, we know some of the practicalities, but it's always like different shades of the things, and this is very important to bring it in. And I think that is the reason why we have the open call, that we have more information coming in and more nuances to tackle, which will make us more smart, and probably we will come up with more practical solutions.
Yeah, and one another thing I'd like to add, people outside, remember there are no stupid questions. Even the ones that you think, oh no, this is very stupid, like what is scoping? If you would ask some kind of that question, that's not stupid. Actually, that's very helpful that people here, like that, those that are making framework or working with toolbox, that they know all kind of questions, because outside of this room, yeah, people are very different, and it is important to hear all kind of questions from your side.
Thank you very much. And Michal, you have something to say as well?
One more idea popped to my head. What is also a lesson learned for us a bit is the civil protection, that this is somehow underestimated in our country. When I spoke, for instance, to Barcelona guys on the first meeting, I realized that they have got the whole institutions for civil protection, which is something rather new for us. And this is what we can learn from each other within CLIMAAX.
Thank you very much. Thomas?
Yeah, I could still about the questions. I think I agree with everybody there that you should ask questions. Right? So if you go to our webpage, which we call the handbook, you will see it's very complex. And nobody knows everything, nobody is able to do everything, so don't be scared. You can ask questions, and I think you should rather ask more than less questions and ask them earlier than later. And also there will be, of course, help from the project. So we are in the process of setting up a help desk where you can ask your questions and where you will get answers pretty quickly, hopefully. And also there's a community of practice by the mission, EU mission of adaptation to climate change. So we also encourage dialogue then between different users. And we also will try to facilitate this further by organizing some webinars or whatever where we, touch on certain topics. So yeah, really, that's one of the most important things, that talk to each other.
Thank you very much for that. And if I can, I would like to give the word to Christina, because I think you have something to add as well.
About this issue, to us it has been a journey that we like to pursue even more, because adaptation is costly. It takes a lot of investment, so we have to be sure what we are doing. especially if we don't want to go into maladaptation journeys. So yeah, Setúbal has been quite annoying with the consortium, asking all the questions that we can remember, but it's been working really well. So I think I would like to leave a message for everybody who's online. Feel free, ask questions, join in. They're available, so
exactly. I
work with them.
I fully agree, because we are all in the same room now. It's a very effective way to ask any questions that you have, and indeed there are no stupid questions. So the chat box is open. Feel free to ask away. I see that Daniel is replying also in text in the meantime. So that's very good for your questions as well. Christina, in your presentation, you mentioned the park that Setúbal is constructing, let's say, and I'm wondering if and how CLIMAAX is could take a role in projects like this in the future.
I think CLIMAAX can give the regions, the municipality, a good overview of the main risks that territories have to tackle, and point out good solutions that have already been implemented. The Várzea Park has been recently been selected by Covenant of Mayors, European Covenant of Mayors, as a good practice to tackle flash floodings, but there could be some other examples. And I think this is quite important between regions and municipalities to share this kind of information, because it's a difficult theme to address. Sometimes complex, because sometimes the territories don't single one risk. They have multi-risk layers, several things happening. So we're available to discuss with everybody the possible solutions. And we, for instance, now on top of that park, as you could see in the video, we are quite invested on working on natural-based solutions to implement there, to enhance the sponge effect of the soil. So we'll be happy to learn about that. So out there, if someone can work with us, we're available on that.
That's very good to hear. Let's stay in touch. Most of all, perhaps as a concluding remark, Thomas, you've been in touch with the pilots a lot. So perhaps you could draw some conclusions on what are some of the best practices in this case. What would you say throughout the span of the pilot so far? What would you share with possible applicants? What do you think is a good approach? What are some best practices from your perspective?
I think actually we answered to this question already pretty well, so that applies actually to all the pilots. The communication is really key, and dive in as soon as possible. Don't be scared away from whatever you see. There's code, and then there's difficult questions from the framework. So everybody's scared of something, but the sooner you confront your problems, the sooner you can also find help, right? So because you can find help from the project, but you also probably find help from your local stakeholders with this, and the sooner you start to look for these answers, you will also get into the project and really get something out of it. I think that is the main part.
Thank you very much for that. I'm afraid that's all we have time for right now. I would like to thank you all very much for your interventions and for your insights. I think they have been very valuable to the people that are applying right now or that are considering applying right now. And as Christina said, I think it's a good idea to stay in touch and really build this community. So I'd like to thank you all for this session. Thank you very much. And then I would say it is time to continue our program. As I sort of mentioned before, the climate resilience community doesn't stop at CLIMAAX. There is multiple projects with similar objectives, and we're all working towards climate resilience and adaptation. So I would like to welcome to the session our sister projects and similar projects. We have with us today Ricardo da Silva with Pathways to Resilience, Carmen Antunia Rosado with Regions for Climate, Cristobal Reveco Umania with Valorada, and Melissa Campaño with Protect. They are connecting from our online stream. So I would like to give the stage now to Ricardo. Loud and clear from the room. Thank you.
Focus on disaster response or prevention is important, especially in the short term. But the framework that we're developing is focused on going beyond that, on helping regions to build a positive vision to climate resilience and then design the pathways that can get them there. So next slide, please. And and essentially what is interesting for me to be speaking to you here today is to say that our intention is to help regions to test our tool by providing them a little bit of sub-granting. So we will support in a total project 100 regions, but right now at this moment we have a call open for the first 40 regions that we want to provide financial and technical support on developing pathways to resilience, essentially. If you can skip to the next slide. Perfect. Yes, that's just so I can say that that the idea is that we engage the regions through providing the financial support, the subgrants, which allows us to test and refine our methodology approach. But then we also want the end result is that our climate toolkit is enriched with the best practices identified. So essentially, what I'm trying to say is that we're not only trying to provide the regions that we work with state-of-the-art adaptation know-how, but we also have a strong focus on building knowledge with the regions throughout the process, which then will lead to a better climate toolkit that should be applicable at least to all Europe. And next slide, please. So as I said, the first open call is open now, and it will be open until the 22nd of February. We're aiming at selecting the first 40 regions. We will have a financial support of slightly above 200,000 euros. And for this, the regions must select a scope for applying the regional resilience journey. So essentially, the expectation is that they apply it at the NUTS levels, so NUTS 1, 2, 3, or LAU, or equivalent if applicable. And we will select the regions based on their vulnerability. So basically, that means how much they are exposed to climate hazards, but also on their institutional capacity to deal with climate hazards and climate risks. And not only we will select, we want to support the regions that are most vulnerable, but since the intention of this project is to be a research project that will serve regions beyond the ones that we have the budget for, we want to put together a diverse portfolio of regions that will allow us to extract insights that are applicable across Europe. So we want a diverse group of 40 from all corners of Europe and from different sizes and so on. And next slide, please. So to reiterate, the expectations from that we have from the ones that join our journey is to help us test our methodology, take part in the trainings that we make available, the resources that we've developed, and enrich our knowledge to a better climate toolkit, and then to demonstrate the progress by using our methodology through the following deliverables. So, essentially have a baseline report at the beginning, but then show us the strategy, action plans, and investment plans that are associated with it. That's not to say that one needs to be created from scratch or that one needs to be final to be eligible, but rather that essentially to show, okay, is our methodology allowing you to make progress in these areas? That's essentially what we want to check. And for almost the final slide, on eligibility, I'll go super quick. Feel free to ask questions afterwards. But essentially, the applicants must be part of EU member states or associated countries. There are some restrictions regarding to the UK because of technicalities, among others, but mainly the UK. And the applicants must be within Europe's biogeographical regions. This is an EEA definition. You can consult the details on our website. And then the entities that are eligible to apply are essentially, we expect that they are public authorities at the scope of the project, so at the relevant territorial level, or public bodies that have received the support of the relevant public authorities. So these are the ones that can apply. These are the ones that can lead an application and coordinate an initiative. But if you have a lead like that, then other entities can be part of a consortium that is led by them. And then in this case, entities that are nonprofit or SMEs are also eligible. And that is all that I wanted to say in the fastest presentation possible that I think we've had so far. So essentially, the last message is all our information is on the website that you see there now. And any and all questions, send it to that email. We'll try to be as diligent as possible responding. And I think we also have some space to answer questions later, no?
Yes, that's right. Okay. Perhaps we can already have one, because this one is specifically targeted to this project. Evangelia is asking, will the trainings mentioned in the Pathways to Resilience be held online or in person?
Thank you for the question. The whole program will be possible to be followed online. So being on site is not a requirement. We will, however, give the opportunity to attend some trainings and some events offline, but it's not mandatory. So the requirement is online, but possibility for offline essentially.
Thank you very much for that. Also for the presentation, very insightful. In the meantime, if there are people also in this room who have questions, feel free to open the mic and seize the opportunity. We'll give the people in the chat some time to formulate some questions. And if they are targeted towards this project, we'll come back to you on that. So in that case, I would like to welcome Carmen about Regions for Climate to the stage to continue our session on Climate's sister projects.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Very well, thank you.
All right, great. So hello, everyone from Finland, from VTT. I am here representing Regions for Climate, building resilient communities. VTT Research Center from Finland is the coordinator of this large EU project, and we started last year in January. So by now the project has been running for 1 year, and it will continue until the end of 2027. So we'll hear more in a minute if there aren't any questions to the previous speaker.
You cannot see the slides. There we go. There we go.
Yes, I can see them now. All right, so let's start. like I said, the project has been running for 1 year and will continue until 2027. You can see there on the right the topic under which this project was funded: large-scale demonstrators of climate resilience, creating cross-border value. And on the left, you can see a map indicating the regions that are part of the project consortium. We have 12 regions across Europe. We will see more about them in a little while. But essentially, Regions for Climate will plan and implement real climate resilient innovations that are created by and for people. And this is done in response to the EU mission adaptation to climate change. One thing that I would like to highlight is the particular emphasis that the project is making on just transition towards climate resilience. And this requires that we simultaneously address social inequalities and also implement cross-sectoral innovations to build social, economic, and environmental resilience to extreme events. Next, please. So here I wanted to summarize for you the objectives of Regions for Climate. The first one is to develop a comprehensive operational framework. And the reason why we are doing that is because we want to guide and support our regions and a wide range of local and regional stakeholders to co-create together and also to test and optimize and replicate locally attuned and cross-border solutions for enhancing regional resilience to the impact of climate change. The second main objective is to scale up and deploy innovative socio-technological climate resilience solutions. And the way in which we are going to do that is through collaboration among the regions involved and also twinning the regions. You will see now in a minute the way that we have matched the regions and according to their to the climate change risks and impacts that they are most vulnerable to. And the third main objective is to generate and validate suitable solutions for just societal transformation and building of climate resilience at regional and local level. And the way in which we are going to do that is through generation and validation of tailor-made user-centered tools and frameworks that are matching the local needs. So as you can see, everything is arranged around the needs of the regions, and everything has to be adapted to the needs and also to the particular conditions of our regions. Next, please. So here you can see an overview of how the work is structured within the project. These are the work packages. As you can see, work package 1 and work package 7 are very common work packages in almost all research projects. One is related to management, ethics, and responsible research and innovation. I would like to stress that in the case of such a large project involving so many regions and stakeholders, the ethics and RR&I component is particularly important. And then the other common work package is dissemination and communication. And then the others, work package 2 is a package that focuses exclusively on just transition and social equity. As I mentioned before, this is a highlight of our project. Work package 3 is focusing on climate resilience diagnostics. Work package 4, smart specialization for sustainability. And work package 5 is a very large work package because this is the work package that concentrates all the work of the regions. So that's where all our regions are working with their local stakeholders, with the technical partners to develop their innovation packages for improved climate resilience. Then work package 6 focuses on innovation management and exploitation. As you can see, also you have probably recognized the names because the work packages are led by very well-known institutions, European institutions, and probably you have worked with them in many projects. Next, please. This is hopefully an interesting slide for you because it gives an overview of how we are addressing this societal innovation. So if we start from the left, you can see there the main climate change related challenges that were identified already during the preparation of the project as the most important ones to be prioritized during the project. Then if we move to the right, you will see there that our regions are organized according to 3 groups, and we call those groups challenge suites because what binds the group together is that those regions are sharing the same climate related challenges, and they want to address them in innovative ways. So we have 3 challenge suites. One is focusing on faster adaptation, the second one smarter adaptation, and the third one systemic adaptation. And you can see that each of them gathers 4 regions, and within each of the groups, we have one region that is like the front runner, and those are the ones that I have circled there, like the Basque Country, Kush Bay, and Sitia. And then the other regions in each of the challenge suites are the follower regions. Then if we continue moving to the right, you will see there in a nutshell the topics or the main summary of what the work of the regions in that challenge suite. For example, for faster adaptation, they focus on protecting the integrity of coastal ecosystems, and we call it the story of coastal protection and restoration. The second challenge suite focuses on enhancing climate adaptation through data, and we call it the story of twin, green, and digital transition for climate resilience. And finally, the third challenge suite is focusing on building socio-cultural and economic resilience, and we call it the story of multi-scale, multi-sectoral adaptation to climate change. So, next, please. So based on that structure, I can give you a few more details about each of the challenge suites that we just saw. And here you can see the innovation, the core innovation pillars that each region has or each challenge suite has chosen. For example, for faster adaptation, the core innovation pillars are to protect and restore the coast, also to explore opportunities for blue carbon credits. Educating and engaging the citizens is very important in all the regions, of course, but particularly for this cluster of regions. And finally, engaging in cross-border actions, and they are actually doing a quite good job there. For smarter adaptation, the core innovation pillars are to bridge the science and stakeholder and policy makers gap, to raise citizens' awareness, and to improve the use of existing data. And finally, for systemic adaptation, they have another set of core innovation pillars, and those are to develop and validate new business models, to collaboratively develop resilience strategies that are suited to the regional conditions, and even local conditions, and engage also local communities in resilience building activities, and finally apply models and frameworks that support the sustainable use of local resources. Because we don't have much more time, I think I can leave it at that. So next, please. And here you have the Regions for Climate website. And please have a look when you have the time, because by now, as I said, we have been working for 1 year on the project, and we are starting to have some activities that we can share with you, some preliminary results, and many events that we are planning. So have a look, and I'm happy also to answer questions if you have any. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for that, Carmen, for the insightful presentation. We are running a bit late, so that's why I would like to make a switch in the presentation. So if that's okay with Cristóbal, we will continue with Melissa, as she has to leave in about 10 minutes. So I will fast forward the slides a little bit, and we'll get back to that later on. We'll also get back to the questions that have been asked in the chat a little bit later on. So Melissa, feel free to take it away for Protect.
Thank you very much, Yip. Thanks a lot. Just waiting on the slides. In the meantime, good afternoon, almost afternoon, yes, I hope for you in Portugal. I'm Melissa Campagno, and I'm the project coordinator of the Protect project. And I'm going to tell you about how Protect can be an opportunity for a future PCP project, and also acting as a knowledge hub about innovation procurement of climate services. I'm working for GAC Group, where I act as an innovation project manager. Next slide, please. So what is Protect? Protect is quite a non-traditional Horizon Europe CSA project, as it aims to actually prepare another Horizon project call, which is actually a pre-commercial procurement call. And what we do in Protect is we support the preparation of future candidate application to this Horizon pre-commercial procurement call by working together with the demand of climate services, so the public buyers, local authorities, whether they come from regional, local level, or rather national level, including ministries, but also sectoral agencies such as water agencies or energy agencies as well, for instance. And we also work with the supply side, meaning providers of Earth observation data, but also providers of climate services based on Earth observation. So the Protect project, very quickly, was a short CSA project. We started the project in June 2022, and we are actually reaching almost the final stage of the project, because we will end the project next June, so June 2024. More interesting about the project that we are preparing, the call that is ongoing at the moment about this pre-commercial procurement. This pre-commercial procurement call, launched by the European Commission, is the largest pre-commercial procurement, what we call PCP, it's easier to say, is the largest PCP call funded that the Commission ever funded. It's a 19 million grant that the Commission is willing to give out. And the call already opened last year on the 17th of October and will close at the end of this month on the 28th of February. For those interested, there was an info day that took place in September together with a brokerage event. So the recordings should be available. And the expected outcome of this call, so what the Commission would like to see out of this PCP project, is actually the preparation, the customization, and pre-operationalization of end-user services and user climate services based on Earth observation data, which build also on Copernicus services, and that responds to the common needs of buyer groups. And the solutions which are expected, the innovative solution expected to be developed during this project, are expected to reach the TRL 8, so very close to commercialization stage, but not yet ready to enter the market. Also, by having a group of several buyers, public buyers willing to join forces together to undertake this PCP, the Commission would like to contribute to reducing the fragmentation of the demand for innovative solutions by commonly having this group of buyers to formulate needs that will be addressed through this pre-commercial procurement. And on the market side, the Commission would like also this call to contribute to creating new opportunities for a wide market uptake and, of course, economies of scale for the supply side. Next slide, please. So the objective of PROTECT, basically, in a nutshell, on the left side of the slide, what we are doing at the moment is, and what we've done through the project, is to create and prepare these groups of buyers for the PCP call of proposal. So I'm saying group and groups because our work and our mission in PROTECT is to prepare a large group of buyers and to educate them on several topics, including innovation procurement approaches, climate adaptation and mitigation approaches, but also Earth observation data and climate services prepared using this data. So we are stopping our work there because the preparation of the project application is something that is done by the buyers themselves. We are not, as the PROTECT Consortium, supporting them in the writing of the proposal. What we did is to prepare the ground, is to do this state-of-the-art analysis about what are the challenges linked to climate adaptation and mitigation throughout Europe in different regions, and also to study the supply side in order to know what's already available on the market and what's not, and if what's not already available on the market can, if there's a gap, basically, and if this PCP can fill the gap. So of course, there is a consortium that is stemming out of the PROTECT project, which is preparing an application for the call at the end of the month, closing at the end of the month. But we can also imagine that there's other consortium that we are not aware of and which are outside of PROTECT, which are preparing an application for this PCP call. On the other hand, we are, as I was mentioning, we educated also a larger community of public buyers in order to build their capacity throughout the project in different areas, including innovation procurement approaches, climate adaptation and mitigation, and Earth observation climate services. This community is still existing, and not all the buyers that we have in this community are at the same stage, and therefore are not necessarily taking part in the PCP project application preparation. And so those buyers which are a little bit less familiar and less ready to undertake the PCP are just in PROTECT to build knowledge and skills. And so we're still conducting capacity building and awareness raising activities as part of PROTECT from now until the end of the project, so from now until June. So if you're willing to join us and to participate in our activities, feel free to join the PROTECT community platform that you can see on the slide, and I assume the slide will be shared after the event, so you can click on the link and access our community. And from the supply side, if we have Earth observation providers in the room or climate service providers in the room which are interested in knowing a little bit more about the PCP project, so of course climate service providers are not expected to take part in the project proposal preparation for the PCP. However, they will be the key target audience for the PCP project once it will start. And the expected start of the PCP project is for Q1 2025, so next year. So you still have time to prepare, and by joining the webinar that we are holding on the 13th of February online, you will know a little bit more about the different phases of a pre-commercial procurement process, because it's quite complex and not everybody knows how it's structured. So you will learn about this, and you will learn also about the preparatory activities that you can take from now until the start of the PCP project, and how we can still help you facilitate this preparation. Next slide. and I will go very quickly on this one, but this just to give you an insight on the work that we've done during Protect. We've organized several types of activities, including pain point workshops with public buyers to identify their needs and to help them to formulate a demand for climate services. We also conducted e-pitching sessions with providers of climate services to understand a little bit better the services that they are providing already, but more importantly, those their R&D efforts and where their R&D efforts are focused, and the type of funding that they will need to receive in order to advance these research and developments that they would be willing to continue doing as part of the PCP. We also conducted several training curriculum and training webinars, which were intended both for public buyers and market providers. The recordings are available on our website, and I will share the link of our website at the end of my presentation. And finally, we conducted open market consultation, and we did 4 of them. Why 4? Because as part of Protect, we identify 4 main challenges related to climate adaptation and mitigation, mostly about climate adaptation and to a lower extent mitigation. And those challenges are on the right hand of the slide. So these 4 challenges are about floods, and the rapid mapping, trying to develop solutions which help to map floods, predict floods, but also preventing different types of floods and improving coordination efforts in different environments, including marine and coastal environment, but also in cities, and also for civil protection and security agencies. The second challenge that we identify is about fires and predicting and preventing fires, tracking and tracing the causality of those fires, but also including, for instance, waste management practices which are leading to fires and to different environments as well. And the third one was related to water. So here it was about public authorities having issues and difficulties to procure or to use climate resilience solutions for predicting, connecting data, planning, supply and demand of water relevant to the application domains of marine and coastal environment, but also energy utilities, sustainable cities, agriculture, forestry, and land use. And the fourth challenge is about sustainable and resilient redevelopment, but also restoring and adapting older building or building new buildings which are sustainable in city urban areas, but also more remote areas as well. So we can imagine that the consortium, which is coming out of Protect, is preparing an application about at least one of these 4 challenges, maybe the 4. We don't know. As I said, we're not taking part as the Protect coordinator in this application, so we cannot give out any information about that, but possibly the PCP project will be tackling one of these 4 challenges. Next slide, please. Quickly on the next steps of the Protect project. Basically what we're going to do between now and June. We are involved in several pilot consulting activities that we are conducting with local and regional authorities, part of the Protect community, in order to advise them on how to develop and or set up their climate adaptation strategies and plan. We are also continuing to enrich the relevant material, which is relevant for the preparation of the PCP call, but also material which will be useful during the PCP project when it will start next year. We have developed a package of awareness raising and capacity building materials. We're keeping on enriching this material, which is already available on the project website. And we have built an e-catalog of climate service providers throughout the EU. This is already available to our community of buyers for now, but it will be more widely disseminated after the project ends. So if you are interested as a provider to take part in this e-catalog, reach out to us and we can still include you. And finally, we have already announced our Protect final event, which will take place. There's a typo, apologies for that, but it's not Expando, it's Expandio for those who are familiar with the Expandio event organized by ERSC. Our final event will take place on the 11th of June and will be part of the Expandio event, which is then on the 11th, 12th, and 13th of June in Brussels. Next and last slide on my end, and this is perhaps the most interesting one, is the lessons learned and recommendations that I, and together with the other partners of the Protect project, including YIP, because we're also collaborating on this project, we can share with you as a project which is in a slightly more advanced stage of the other project which have been presented so far. So in terms of recommendations that we can share, the first important one is to engage with public buyers early on. So if you are working with procurers, which may not be your case, but more generally speaking, if you're working with local and regional authorities, which is, I understand, more your case for the project, CLIMAAX project or other project that we've heard so far, these are a difficult population to work with. In the sense that they speak their own language. So you have to, of course, speak this language, and to make sure that you also keep them interested throughout your project. But mostly the recommendation is to engage with them early on in the project, to really give them a clear vision about your activities, your timeline, so they understand also the effort and the effort which is expected from them if they are willing to participate in your project. Linked to that, it's important also to, if you're working with buyers or local authorities in the area of climate adaptation, more generally, to not, let's say, engage only with one specific department of the local authority. In our case, we did not only consult with buyers or public procurers, the procurement department, but also other technicians working with data, with smart cities policies, and many other departments in charge of related policies to climate adaptation. So this is important to engage with various types of stakeholders from local authorities, and also to adapt your key messages to these targets, to these stakeholders, to these target audiences. Visibility and timely communication, of course, to target and take part in the right events, and a lot. You have to be visible, so you have to really invest on identifying the right events, communicating with your target audiences about you are participating in these specific events on time. And of course, communication is key, so you have to be a bit creative, but make sure you keep it simple, because sometimes the key messages can be a bit confusing if they are not kept simple. Recommendation 2, as I'm going a little bit not in the right order for this recommendation, but trying to make links for you, surround yourself with experts, of course, because sometimes you get either from the market side, or in our case, or from the demand side, very complex queries. So you have to have the experts available in your project, or in your advisory board, or in a user observatory group, for instance, but to have access to experts so that they can really provide a timely answer and a comprehensive answer to the stakeholders that are asking the questions. And last but not least, well, in our case, we work with procurement people, so we have and we are preparing a pre-commercial procurement procedure. So we had to respect the procurement principles, so to ensure fair competition between market players, in order not to favor any providers in our e-pitching session or open market consultation, to make sure that we remain neutral as well, and to ensure transparency of information. So that's why we are making all the reports, all the resources that we are produced in Protect available on the website. And the last one, don't think that you know it all, of course, and make friends and learn from others, from their mistakes specifically. In our case, this is not the first PCP, though it's the largest PCP call being made. Other PCPs have been done in the past, so it's very interesting also to know your predecessors and to reach out to them to learn from their experience and learn from their good but also bad practices in order not to replicate them and to capitalize on their experience. So that's it for me. On the very last slide, you have all the Protect links, the website, the LinkedIn page, and also the generic email address where you can reach out to us. So feel free to visit these pages and websites and to reach out to us if you have any further questions or queries. Thanks a lot. That's it for me.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for a bit long.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and also thank you very much for the lessons learned that you shared with us. Indeed, Protect is a little bit further in the timeline right now, and I think that we can learn a lot from each other. Apologies for the slight delay that we have. So I'd like to now turn to Valorada with Cristobal. So I'm just moving a little bit back in the slides to make sure that we arrive at the right point. And I think we're here. So Cristobal, if you're in the stream, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, hi, Deep. Hi, hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation again. I'm Cristobal Rebeco. I'm researcher at the CLIMAAX Service Center, Germany. We're based in Hamburg. We're called GERIX. And I'm the project coordinator for Valorada. Valorada stands for Validated Local Risk Actionable Data for Adaptation. I cannot see my slides, Jip, so I don't know if shall I wait for...
I think you should be able to see them now if I'm correct, right?
That's correct. Thank you very much. So if you want to move on to the next one, please. So just to give you an overview, so Valorada started last year in June. Valorada is a 3-year project. We're under the umbrella of the mission adaptation. And our purpose is, maybe as a concept in a nutshell, we work with regions, with 5 regions across Europe, and we want to understand what kind of data that is produced by local administrations can facilitate characterizing climate risks. So we know that there's plenty of environmental, social information that municipalities produce. And our question here is, what's the climate value of these locally generated information? So our project is taking us through several questions related to how can we, first of all, harness the value of this information so that we can explain climate adaptation challenges, what kind of additional information we need to integrate in this context. So we're exploring the use of Earth observation and, of course, climate information in a way to see how we can contextualize climate adaptation to the different challenges. If you move to the next one, please. We are, this is sort of a linear progression of our project. And of course, it is a lot more complicated than this, but we want to try to, through this scheme, explain how we're going to progress. So we have 4 overarching questions. The first one is which data is needed to contextualize climate risk? Which data is already available for this purpose? Once we have identified the data that's available for this purpose, then we ask the question, which value propositions can enable us to produce data that actually connects the idea of climate risks and makes it meaningful and understandable to local decision makers. But we also recognize that we might need additional tools in order to make this data and information actionable and usable. So the project starts off in the first part on the left-hand side, which is where we're standing now. We are first of all exploring what is it that local stakeholders understand as climate risk. From this, we are developing a set of indicators to characterize risks. And from this, we are developing the data value chains in order to understand, first of all, how data to populate these indicators might emerge. So, of course, this demands a lot of involvement with the local stakeholders. So we want to understand not only how they describe risk, but how they can provide data to explain that risk. And of course, when we talk about tapping on the existing possibilities of data to explain climate risk, we are very attentive to work with the data that's already existing. So our project, as a motto, we really stress the fact that we're not planning to request new data being generated by local governments. What we want to address is to identify the value of existing data. So that is a key aspect of Valorada. If we move along the arrows to the right-hand side, we are also promoting the establishment of communities of practice locally. We understand that data requires collaboration. So for that, we're implementing different workshops. And in the future, we're also going to develop some capacity building schemes. And then it comes to the more technological part, maybe, where we want to develop data catalogs. Our ambition is to facilitate the management of data by providing catalogs with metadata, where local stakeholders can identify, for example, social data that might talk about vulnerabilities of certain social groups that can be put into this catalog associated to a metadata, and that metadata, of course, linked to specific indicators and recommendations as to which data can be used to populate these indicators. So in a sense, we understand that the management of data for climate adaptation requires certain reorganization and collaboration locally. So that's why we're taking a lot of time to have that engagement with local partners. And finally, of course, some of our partners will be developing data manipulation tools so that we can provide visualizations of this data under the FAIR principles. So that is something that, of course, is paramount in our project to ensure that any data and visualization tools that are used during the project can be provided somehow after the project has ended. So we're also delving a lot on that issue of legacy, of how Valorada is going to provide a legacy after the project ends. Maybe we can move to the next slide, so that just to give you a brief. Yeah, there, thank you. So since CLIMAAX has been involved in risk assessment, I thought important maybe to share with you some of the initial activities that we just finished in this first 6 months. And we developed this 9 climate impact chains. And the climate impact chains, of course, they provide an idea of how risks and impacts emerge in a causal and through causal connections. And this exercise was very interesting because it helped us a lot to understand how is it that people define climate risks locally. And based on these climate impact chains, then we started developing the indicators and populating the indicators with existing data. So our ambition is that based on this local understanding, then we can really move on to the next phase of our project, which is the development of the data catalogs. So if you move maybe to the last one, to the last slide. So this is just a picture of one of the preliminary pictures of one of the climate impact chains. And again, the idea here is to associate each of the elements of risks, adaptive capacity, vulnerability, and exposure to specific data sets that people understand locally. So they're very much obviously defined by local actors. So in that sense, we're really managing to get closer to an understanding of a contextual characterization of climate risks and the data needs for that. So if you move maybe to the last one, I will just leave you with some information on how to reach us in terms of social media and all the associated information that comes there. And yeah, I'm happy to receive questions, and greetings also to the Valorada colleagues who are there in Portugal now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cristobal, for your presentation. It was very insightful, and apologies for the slight delay there, and we appreciate a lot that you were able to stick around. Let's say I would like to thank all of the projects that presented today in this session. It shows really how diverse the community is and the aims that we have in common. I would say that now is also the chance for the chat to ask the questions that you may have to these projects. There have been some that already came in. I will have to switch microphone because I have to read it from my other screen. The question is from Carmela, and it is for Pathways to Resilience. In terms of boosting enabling conditions, what innovative solutions is Pathways to Resilience exploring to increase local climate resilience? Are there any examples?
That's a great question, but one that we're totally unprepared to answer at this moment. We're really at the moment in time where essentially we're gathering the state of the art in terms of enabling conditions and you know and how to approach them. Yeah, and I cannot say more than this at the moment. But keen to work with you to figure this out.
Thank you very much for that. Then we have another question for Regions for Climate from Christina. How are cross-sectoral roadmaps developed collaboratively with regional stakeholders? Can you share insights into this process?
Yes. I'm not sure exactly what where the question is aiming at, but yes, we are making sure that the regions are very active, cooperating with each other within each of the challenge suites, also across the challenge suites, and with the technical and research partners that are developing tools and models, frameworks, roadmaps, to support the regions in their work. So it's a constant work to align each other, to share information, and to ask the regions to provide data for developing an input and also feedback when developing all these tools and solutions for them, to support them. And but also it's a difficult balance that we have to strive in order not to overload the regions, but at the same time to keep them always on board and engaged, and also to get them to mobilize their own stakeholders. So it's all the way a collaborative process. It's not lacking challenges, but we have to all the time make the effort to keep them on board and interested and to support them in the best way.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. I have also a question for Valorada, because you mentioned societal transformations. Could you perhaps provide an example of any actions that could enable such transformations?
I'm pretty sure I didn't use the word societal transformation, but I can explore a bit of the concept of how we've been talking in Valorada a lot about the how to ensure that a transformation has to happen at the level of administrations, local administrations, on how people manage data, among other things. And I think that here in Valorada we're also discussing a lot of the issues related and questions that go beyond climate change, obviously, which relate to the future of work. How is it people going to work in the future, and how this the future of work, aided by new technologies, can actually help us adapt to climate change in different aspects. And I think that if I can refer to social transformation, I would like to point specifically to that aspect, which is what we're doing in Valorada, which is understanding on a broader context, what is it that we can provide to people to improve the implementation of administrative competencies in local governments. How the future of urban planning might be challenged by, it is being challenged by climate change, but what can we do in terms of improving how people work? What kind of technologies, methods, methodologies, assessments, standards help us to improve that process? So I think that in Valorada, we are pointed to that specific aspect in terms of how to stimulate an improvement in data management, acknowledging that local data has an intrinsic climate value, but we have to enhance that climate value, represent that climate value somehow. So I think that for us, societal transformation has to do a lot with that aspect of work, climate adaptation locally, public administrations, and also questions related to the future of work.
Thank you very much for answering that question, Cristobal. I think that's unfortunately all we have time for the project pitches today. But as all the slides included some contact details, may you have any questions at some later stage, feel free to reach out. And of course, the slides will be made available after this session as well. So I would like to thank everyone for joining today. Please be aware that we have some final moments for questions regarding the open call, in case you have them still. We are here for another couple of minutes to answer any that you may have in the chat. I would say now is the time to do so, because we are all here in person. We are able to communicate to each other directly. So please feel free to ask these questions now. Yeah, in general, I would like to thank all of the speakers of today. I thought we had an interesting morning together. We saw many initiatives, many plans, many good conversations. You'll be able to find the recording of this session, the slides of this session, later on our website and our social media for future reference. I'd like to thank the municipality of Setúbal for hosting us, also with the technicalities of today. But please stick around if you have a question for the open call, and we'll get to them in a minute. I don't see any questions coming in the chat, but I do remember some questions that we get a lot. One of these questions, for example, is, can the UK participate in this program?
United Kingdom is not eligible because the open call was launched in 2023. If it was launched in 2024, then it would be eligible. So for the second open call, supposedly it will be eligible. So for the first open call now it's not eligible, but for the second open call, supposedly it will be eligible.
Thank you very much for that. And for example, a consortium of organizations, could they apply together for the open call?
No, we are looking for individual entities. However, please remember that subcontracting is not limited, so you can always have some subcontractors within your organization, but there is no possibility to apply as a consortium.
All right, and then the final one from my side, I would say, do you know how it is determined, the height of the funding that organizations can receive?
How it's determined,
the amount of the funding.
Okay, so it's up to 300,000 euros. However, it depends on the country. You can find this information specifically in the frequently asked question. There is a table, and in the table you can find your country, how much money you can receive.
All right, I think from my side, all of my questions were answered. I would also like to point out that we have another session online on how to apply for this open call on 13 February. So please keep an eye out for that as well. We'll do another round of questions and answers there. And in the meantime, if there is any questions, feel free to reach out to us on our social media or on the website, etc. So in that case, I think that we've been over everything we needed to discuss today. I would like to say a huge thank you to everyone that participated in this session today. It's been a very insightful morning, it's a very insightful week, and I look forward to continuing this work with you. And also thank you very much for the viewers online. I hope you enjoyed this session and found it informative. Thank you very much.